In this section, we're going to look at functions and function notation. So, what exactly is a function? Well, before we get to that, let's talk about what a relation is. A relation is a correspondence between two variables like x and y. So, in children, typically their age and height are related to one another. If we travel a certain amount of time at a constant rate, the distance we have traveled is related to how much time that we've spent traveling. And how about the amount of time that you've spent studying and the grade on your test? What a function is a relation in which each possible input value leads to exactly one output value. So in the case of the amount of time studied and the grade that you would get on a test, the amount of time studied is the input. That's what typically comes first. And the grade would be the output. And often these are called independent versus dependent variables. Okay, so we're going to take a look at what a function and what a non-function is using different methods. So first we're going to look at numerically. And numerically, we will examine a table of values. This function would consist of 4 ordered pairs, and x and y are related, and we can see that every y value is just double whatever the x value is. An example that's very similar, that is not a function, could look something like this. Okay, notice that the 1 is paired with both a 2 and an 8, and the input of 1 is paired with more than one output, and that does not satisfy this definition of a function. Okay, so in short, if you just look at a table of values, the fastest way to tell if it's a function or not is to see if the value of the input or independent variable repeats. And if it does, that is not a function. Okay, we can also take a look at a graph. And, over the course of the day, the temperature increases and then kind of decreases in this type of pattern. Okay, so every particular time has only one temperature associated with it. So what we see is that 12 or noon is paired with only one temperature, which is 80 degrees. Okay, and any other time is also paired with only one temperature. If, on the other hand, our graph of temperature versus time looked something like this. Okay, at noon, we couldn't tell exactly what the temperature is because there's multiple options, and this is not a good graph to use to predict outcomes. Okay, so in this case, and any cases similar, we would say that this is not a function. And we can also determine whether we have a function by looking at an equation relating two variables. So let's say that y is equal to x squared is our given relation. And our goal is just to see for every input, is there only one output? So when x is 1, we square it, y equals 1 squared, and we get that y is 1, and therefore the ordered pair associated with an input of x equals 1 is just 1, 1. Okay, let's try another one. If x equals 0, then y is equal to 0 squared, which is a y value of 0, and that ordered pair is 0, 0. Okay, we can continue in this manner, and we can see that every x value produces only one y value, and therefore this is an example of a function. Okay, if we look at another example, a relation x equals y squared. Okay, the first thing that I would do is try to isolate y. And to isolate y, we would take the square root of each side. Okay, so but remember, upon doing so, we actually get positive or negative square root of x is equal to y. Okay, so let's do a test. If x is 4, then y is equal to positive or negative, plus or minus, the square root of 4, or plus or minus 2. So here what we have is one x value that has multiple outputs, two of them, positive or negative 2, and therefore this relation is not a function.